On Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Minutes into 1 p.m. in Central African time. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you. Thank you very much for choosing to spend the afternoon here on Channel Africa exclusively. So we bring you the upside. My name is Mmatsheko Mosito, here to host the show for you until 4 p.m. in Central African time. In fact, God willing, I'll be here all week, Monday to Friday, same time right here. Thanks to Lulu Kapu and the team for Africa Update. They're back again tomorrow between 11 and midday, 12 and 1. Okay, there we go. My memory returns very swiftly. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and also for streaming the show audio visually on YouTube as well as Facebook. On satellite in Southern Africa, channel 802 on the DSTV audio bouquet is also where we can find us. Today marks the start of Entrepreneurship Week, actually. So sending just a love note to all the entrepreneurs working very hard here on the African continent across fraternities. 17th until the 22nd, hey? If I'm not mistaken, is Entrepreneurship Week, and really is about creating spaces for conversation around entrepreneurship, what it looks like currently, what we would like it to look like, entrepreneurs as well sharing their journeys. So something really noteworthy to acknowledge. But coming through on the show today between 1 and 4, an important conversation around the Southern African Fraud Prevention Service and their urgent message for the public to stay vigilant during International Fraud Awareness Week, which kicked off yesterday, the 16th, and ends on the 22nd of this month, which is November. So the organization CEO, Manny van Schalkwyk, is going to be touching base with us, and we're going to talk about this campaign and also the message that comes through with that. We're going to be looking at Cape Town's Golden Acre complex that is set for a major transformation following its recent acquisition by Putrek, which is a partnership led by developers Grey Moore and Roelof Delport. So in our property feature, that is what we're going to be covering. Otherwise, thank you for being here. If you happen to catch this broadcast live, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Parlez-vous couramment le français? Êtes-vous passionné par la radio? Et êtes-vous qualifié pour travailler en Afrique du Sud? Envoyez-nous votre CV et votre 3 minutes démo en MP3 à @channelafrica.co.za pour avoir une chance de rejoindre la famille Channel Africa. Si vous n'avez pas de réponse après 14 jours, cela signifie que vous n'avez pas été retenu. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine. Africa, voici Abedi.
Oui, c'est moi.
Abedi est un passionné de musique dans l'âme. Il a un goût pour toutes sortes de musique et passe ses journées à écouter Channel Africa.
J'aime beaucoup la musique africaine.
OK. Devinez quoi? Channel Africa veut aider Abedi et les mélomanes du monde entier à découvrir encore plus de musique incroyable. C'est pourquoi Channel Africa appelle les artistes africains à soumettre leur musique. Chers artistes, n'oubliez pas de nous fournir toutes vos informations pertinentes à l'email adresse musique@channelafrica.co.za. Les soumissions sont votre chance d'être entendues, mais elles ne garantissent pas une playlist. Toutes les soumissions seront soigneusement examinées pour voir si elles répondent aux exigences de notre station. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine. Le monde entier a les yeux rivés sur Johannesburg. Les dirigeants des plus grandes économies mondiales se réunissent pour prendre des décisions qui façonneront les nations, les marchés et l'avenir. Vous savez déjà que Channel Africa sera sur place pour vous proposer des débats, des analyses et des points de vue essentiels. Suivez le sommet du G20 les 22 et 23 novembre en direct de l'Afrique. Restez connectés sur Channel Africa.
Channel Africa, your voice, your sound, and your home. Stay locked right here.
Amour, oyebi ke nalela yo lokola kilao nakolinga ozala kaka yangai. C'est vrai. Vie na ngai changea de l'instant. Namona yo, nakoma komona yo partout. Je suis perdue. Pama sabatuna kankai pona yo. Dakuni na bomba kayo. Bipai na bomba yo, darling. Motema. Biloba boya kalo kolantindi na matoye. Kokate fana yo. Sanga. Pama sabatuna gelubunini. Nalia puet nalango yo boye. No, 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 no. Grite, marabute, bolingo a motima. Mawana ngai pona krakayo. La sali yo confiance, na pesi yo motima. Na kolati sa yo lopete amour. Elembo ya bolingo na biso, yeah.
Yatendai, on y va. C'est ça même. Oh. Doucement, doucement. Écoute ça, papa, pa. Oh ya 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 ya.
Tangana misonanga dadu into me. Yokamote mananga when you dance between moms. Okamwate nandingezali kodeta sala. Merci na papati pasala imagina ya. Nakotosa ba condition nyoso tu bago pisanga poete. Ozala wangai pour la vie a décidé. Nakopala yo mon amour a décidé. Yoza wangai, yeah. All my life I've been looking for someone like you, my darling. Since I met you, I just can't get you.
Music by Monique Tende with Nalingio. Thank you for tuning in and happy Monday to you. Welcome to The Upside. My name is Mmatsheko Mosito with you until 4 p.m. in Central African time. And this is where we open gateways for you to just know what's happening on the African continent. And as I'd mentioned, today marks the start of Entrepreneurship Week. So any stories about business, getting into business, getting out of business, storytelling around business on the African continent, I invite you to drop us a note. Drop us a note. Our suggestion box is always open. Twitter at Channel Africa 1. Just use the hashtag hashtag upside or the upside so that we can track the conversation with you. But today also marks the start of another important space when we look at the fact that we are drawing closer to the end of 2025, and the Southern African Fraud Prevention Service is urging the public to stay vigilant during International Fraud Awareness Week, which started yesterday, the 16th of November, and continues on until the 22nd of November. The organization's CEO, Manny van Schalkwyk, has spoken, saying that technology has become a major front in the fight against fraud, with scammers using phone calls to mislead people into giving up valuable information. And these calls often mimic banks, mobile networks, insurers. They go as far as government agencies and even law enforcement, making it very difficult for consumers like you and I to be able to tell the difference between what is real and what is actually a trap. So we're going to be looking at how they are countering this as they have launched their Just Say Goodbye campaign, which teaches people how to recognize the signs of phishing and end suspicious calls before any damage is done by sharing examples of common tactics and warnings that are going to take this conversation further. So let's unpack it. Let's have a look at what this campaign is all about and perhaps how you can draw from it, as it were. Almi Kemp, lead of communications for Southern African Fraud Prevention Week, joins me in conversation this afternoon. Almi, thank you very much for joining me. Welcome to Channel Africa.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's really good to be here.
Thank you. Talk about what key trends or perhaps some fraud tactics. I mentioned some of them, but let's talk about some of the ones that perhaps inspired you to or prompted you as an organization to start the Goodbye campaign.
Yes. Well, you gave such a beautiful introduction, so I don't feel I have to go into too much, but we basically launched the Just Say Goodbye awareness campaign to help South Africans recognize and respond to sophisticated phone-based scams or phishing scams, as you so clearly pointed out. And the reason for this is because we have noted an increase in phishing scams, the banks and things like that. We work very closely with organizations, and unfortunately, people are being scammed out of their hard-earned money. What the scammers do is they use psychological tactics and impersonation, and they create a sense of urgency and fear, convincing victims that their accounts or devices have been compromised, that they're in trouble, or that there's an exciting opportunity for them. And then the victims are pressured into providing one-time PINs or banking credentials or granting access to their devices or even transferring money out of fear of whatever they are being said will happen to them if they don't do that. So you mentioned what prompted it. I think the first one we kicked off with was the bank's fraud department calling you to say there's a problem with your account. And they say that they've picked up fraud on your account or that your money needs to be moved for safekeeping. And then the victims are so fearful of losing their money that they follow these prompts and they transfer money into fraudulent bank accounts and they push buttons on their phone. They do everything the scammers say. And then another tactic we saw was a call from your cellular company's fraud department claiming there's a SIM swap on your phone. And in order to help you stop this, you need to provide them with a one-time PIN, giving them access to your device and your account settings.
Sure. A lot is going on. As you're speaking, I'm thinking some of the most vulnerable groups, Almi, to such scams would be the elderly, because they perhaps would not know that perhaps this is not the way to do things, or they are at risk of panicking or falling scam to these psychological tactics, as you mentioned them. Is there any specific sort of way in which you target the older age group, or people in their golden years, if I could put it that way, to actually really take care of their money? And if there's anything that they need to find out, that they need to perhaps physically go to the bank or physically go to a government department to prevent them from being scammed?
It's a very tricky one because, like you say, they are targeting the elderly community purely because that community has life savings, so they have access to have a lot more money than perhaps a younger person would. And there's also a sense of trust in operating over the phone, where other generations are so technologically savvy and they almost don't want to answer phone calls. So they do target them. And that's why we have raised this campaign, while we are talking to radio stations like yourselves, we are sharing information, and we are really encouraging people listening to talk to their family members, talk to their neighbors, talk to their parents, tell them about this, because the more we spread the word, the better that is. And then before we move on, I forgot to mention that there are other tactics. So it's not just limited to the bank or to your cellular company. They are impersonating law enforcement, saying that criminal activity has been linked to you and that you need to prove that you are innocent, and they transfer you around. It's very, very sophisticated. They are also phoning people and saying, listen, we picked up a virus on your computer. We need access to your device right now in order to fix it. So it's not just based on one tactic. It's many, many tactics. But there are things you can do to protect yourself.
There's always things to do to protect yourself. Such an important campaign that we're discussing here, of course, with the Southern African Fraud Prevention Services, urging you as a public to really just stay vigilant. Just stay vigilant. And you don't owe anyone any answers over the phone. So they're coming through with a very important campaign. It's the Just Say Goodbye campaign, which teaches you how you can recognize the signs of phishing and end suspicious calls immediately, if not sooner. Let's take a break.
Yes.
Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter?
Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard?
Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126.
And we will call you back.
So you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am, you know.
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views.
Share your opinion.
Engage with a community that values your perspective.
Follow us on our social media.
Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za
And get ready to share your views
on Channel Africa.
The African Perspective.
The upside. On the upside.
Your voice matters.
24 minutes past 1 p.m. in Central African time. Thank you for staying with us. On the line, we're talking to Almi Kemp, who is lead of communications for the Southern African Fraud Prevention, I beg your pardon. And we're really talking about an important campaign that is about making sure that you don't fall prey to phishing schemes. Almi, talk to me about the difference between phishing and phishing. Is there a difference? Is it the same thing?
Yes, it's a difference. Essentially, phishing is when it's more email and website based, where they send out emails and communication or links to spoofed websites, which are fake websites.
Right.
And the purpose is to almost gain access to information when you click on those links or when you act according to what they ask for. Phishing really focuses on what this campaign is about right now, which is phone calls and phone-based scams. So it starts with a phone call, and obviously, like I said, they will prompt you to do various things, which will then give them access to information, or they get you to transfer money into their account.
Got it. Obviously, this is not a campaign that you can carry on your own. You've got to get buy-in from the banks, from the mobile networks, insurance companies, etc. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about their role that they are playing in assisting you to promote this awareness?
So the banks are very close to their consumers and their customers. They are actively working on pushing messages to their consumers as they pick up on fraud. So I have to say, in terms of that, they are doing their part. I think the role of the consumer is to actually read those messages that the banks and financial services providers and insurers and the SAFPS are actually putting out there. I think there's a misconception. People think this won't happen to me. It won't happen to me. I won't fall for that. But the reality is these scams are so sophisticated. It can happen to you.
Yes.
So I think all the large organizations are really doing their part in terms of raising fraud awareness. It's just on the consumer to actually take the time to inform themselves.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important point, Almi, because banks actually, I mean, just to use banks as an example, they really do send warnings and
They do.
flashlights, and they really annoy you, but you've got to take the time to read them. It really is for your own safety and the safety of, the assets that you've built for yourself. Very, very important.
Definitely.
Let's talk about
Definitely.
using technology, because isn't this interesting? I mean, sometimes the problem can be the solution. So technology as the problem, but also being part of the solution. What would you say to that?
I think in terms of technology, I am not a technology expert in per se, but what I want consumers to really know is that the technology that organizations have access to, scammers have access to as well. So in addition to technology, using URL scanners to check websites, we have a website that has that for free. You can check if a website is safe or not, and putting those methods in place for yourself, having good cybersecurity protocols in place in terms of two-factor authentication, things like that, strong passwords. Go back to the basics. But I'm also encouraging people to use their gut, your gut instinct, because at the end of the day, sometimes people come at you with terminology and all these fancy words, and they throw technology at you. And if you don't understand it, you feel overwhelmed by it. But you might feel something is wrong. That's why we said it's quite simple. If all of this is being thrown your way, just say goodbye, stop, think, verify via official channels, and then take the next step.
Please, just to take the long route. You know, sometimes we really want to take shortcuts, Almi, and that gets us nowhere.
Because we're all so busy. We're all very busy. And I think scammers are capitalizing on that. They know that you are in a meeting, you have all these activities with your children, you are trying to do admin, you're trying to stay on top of life. So when they phone you and they put pressure on you, you actually so overwhelmed that you don't take the time to stop and think before you act.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so in finality, where can we go to get just more information on the campaign, and really just to educate ourselves? And if we are living with elderly people or people that we feel may fall vulnerable to such scams, we'd like to help them and help put a stop to this. Where can we go for more information?
So the SAFPS has a website where you can find more information. It's www.safps.org.za. And then we also have another website, which is a product of the SAFPS called YIMA, and it's www.yima.org.za. There, people can learn about scam types, how to spot scams, and what to do. And there's also a reporting functionality. If you do find that you have been scammed or you see that there's something going on, you can report it. And the intelligence used or gained from that reporting is shared with law enforcement to better prepare for the future. And so you can access those. And I would also encourage you to read those messages from your financial services providers when they are warning you. Do not think that it won't happen to you. It can happen to anyone. And I think there's also a message of empowerment. We want people to know that you don't have to be a fraud expert to empower yourself. Just say goodbye, stop, think, verify the information via official channels. And what that means is the channels that are online or on your card or that kind of thing, not the channels that are provided to you via an email or over the phone. And there's power in knowledge and there's power in saying goodbye.
Absolutely. There is power in saying goodbye. I think if anything, if you want to take just one thing from this conversation, is that don't ever think it won't happen to you. Don't ever think it won't happen to you, because it can. Almi, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. All the best with this campaign for the festive season.
Thank you for giving us this platform.
Okay,
Have
it
a good
is.
day.
Thank you. 1:30 on the clock. Let's check in with sports.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And in this hour in our sports update, we kick off with rugby news. Springbok captain Siya Kolisi says his side displayed their South African-ness in their last 2 wins on their end-of-year tour against France last week, on Saturday against Italy. Kolisi refused to vent about losing a player in each of the last 2 matches to a red card, but rather pointed out that the Springboks in both instances were able to make a plan on the fly to get the win. The Boks have 3 wins from 3 matches on tour and move on to Dublin to face Ireland this coming Saturday night.
We went through it last weekend, and this week again, we're going through the same thing. So we make plans in the game as we go, because we know things happen. I mean, the biggest thing that we've been asked this week is to show our South Africanness, and that's making plans along the way, and there's always stumbles along the way.
Coach Rassie Erasmus was also not vocal against the successive red cards, but did plead for a bit of common sense as he looked at the problem from a coaching perspective.
Losing 2-5 locks in 2 games for not going lower than they can low, it's tough to understand. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong by that, but we don't know how to coach guys more different to go lower. We are really a bit in a fix for a 2-meter guy and a 2.06-meter guy to go lower than a guy on his knee.
With more rugby news, the Springboks will host England, Scotland and Wales in July 2026 as the new Nations Championship launches with a northern invasion of the Southern Hemisphere, where every match will count as teams aim to finish the season as a top test side on the planet. The groundbreaking Nations Championship, a landmark joint venture between SANZA and Six Nations Rugby to create the new biennial tournament, was officially launched on Monday. That's today, with the 12 biggest nations in world rugby colliding in a competitive new tournament that will reshape the future of the global game. The SANZA nations, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia and Argentina, plus invitational teams Japan and Fiji, will represent the Southern Hemisphere in the new competition played in the 2 existing international windows in July and November against the Six Nations teams England, France, Ireland, Italy, Scotland and Wales. The finals weekend, scheduled for the 27th to the 29th of November 2026, will deliver world-class sporting entertainment to fans, with 3 days of double headers taking centre stage at Allianz Stadium in London. On to football news. South Africa's Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gethin McKenzie's plan to introduce the video assistant referee, VAR, in South Africa is gathering momentum. The delegation he sent to Spain this weekend has been left impressed with what they have seen on the ground. And Daniel Bennett, who is the VAR management team, is impressed with what he's seen so far and says now it's all about the numbers.
Especially the VAR room, everything we need for the amount of games and the standard and the number of games we have in a season. But yeah, it looks really cool. It's just a matter of costing now, what it's going to cost us to do this. How many rooms are we going to be able to get? Are we going to be able to get Obi-Vans? And now it's just a matter of going back, meet to the committee after this report back and going back and getting what are we looking at, what's the final numbers, because we need to crack on this quite quickly.
And we end with golf news. Adam Schenk battled through blustery conditions in Sunday's final round to capture the Bermuda Championship for his first USPGA Tour title. With winds gusting up to 40 kilometers per hour, 33-year-old American fired a level par 71 to finish 72 holes on 12 under 272 at Port Royal in Southampton in Bermuda. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fide Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Your life, your rhythm, your Africa. Channel Africa. Find it for free on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Midday vibes, great programming, and good company. This is Channel Africa.
1:35 on the digital clock. It's still the first hour of the Upside, and we're going to check in with the latest in business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Mmatsheko, and good afternoon. Gambling regulatory bodies from across Africa are expected together at the Sun City Resort in the Northwest Province. They include bodies from Botswana, Kenya, Swaziland and Tanzania. The Gaming Regulators Africa Forum will start today and end on Friday. The growing challenge of illegal gambling will be under the spotlight. Boitumelo Xalinge is the acting Chief Executive Officer of the Northwest Gambling Board.
The conference will be attended by various member states from different countries in the continent. Action is to be taken against illegal gambling. Illegal gambling is a big problem for the industry, as it undermines the public trust and it deprives governments of critical revenue.
South Africa's MTN Group says its revenue for the 9 months to September rose by 25.9%, driven by strong performances in Nigeria and Ghana. Africa's biggest telecom operator, which has more than 300 million customers in 16 markets across the continent, says that excluding the effect of currency fluctuations, group service revenue increased by 22.6%. MTN Nigeria led growth with a 57.1% rise in service revenue, while MTN Ghana rose 35.9%, supported by lower inflation and more stable exchange rates. Africa's leaders and economic experts are sounding the alarm over a rapidly worsening debt crisis, now topping $1.3 trillion. At a high-level panel media briefing recently, a chairperson of the G20 Africa expert panel, Trevor Manuel, warned that the system governing global lending is pushing African countries toward social and economic breaking points. Manuel says the design of the global financial system, especially the role of rating agencies, is driving up the cost of borrowing for African economies, even when countries have similar economic fundamentals to those in the global north.
The issue of debt this year is so extensively canvassed. It's quite important that we find solutions and not just tinker at the margins, amongst other issues. Quite important is the way in which cost of capital is raised, and one of the key metrics there would be the role of the ratings agencies. And you have to ask about the structure of ratings and how that feeds into the cost of capital and how we will unpack that going forward.
The Democratic Republic of Congo, which holds over 70% of the world's cobalt reserves, has unveiled its first 1,000 metric tons of traceable artisanal cobalt. This milestone marks a key step in formalizing a sector that employs an estimated 1.5 to 2 million people and supports millions more indirectly. Executive Director of the Southern Africa Resource Watch, Dr. Claude Kabemba, says although they appreciate this positive step of formalizing the sector, more clarity needs to be provided on a number of questions, including the prices of cobalt being sold by artisanal miners.
We know that the labor of these artisanal miners are always undermined. They don't get what they deserve. And what is the value distribution structure from the site level to the export? So we are not very clear. While we appreciate this positive step of formalization, we still have this number of questions that needs to be clarified.
World currency markets have started the week in a cautious mood, with the dollar just a touch higher on the euro, yen and sterling, as the traders fine-tuned their positioning ahead of what could be a busy week with the long-awaited return of U.S. economic data. Market reaction to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs U-turn on more than 200 food products was muted, with some analysts saying the move was not a surprise due to the cost of living issues caused by the levies. The focus this week will be on various U.S. data releases for clues on the health of the world's largest economy, with the closely watched September non-farm payrolls report due on Thursday. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 440, Botswana 13 pula 665, Kenya 128 shilling 2, and Zambia 22 kwacha 44. The BRICS countries in Brazil, the dollar there will cost you 5 ruble 29, Russia 80 rubles 78, India 88 rupees 65, for China 7 yuan 9, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 17 rand 6. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Gold is trading at $4,079, while platinum is at $1,547 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $63.89 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Tabisolo Hoko.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in business on Channel Africa.
The United States was very vocal at the beginning of South Africa's G20 presidency, and this is largely due to strained relations with South Africa at the time, that they were not really keen on participating. Where do they stand right now?
The US is planning to take over the presidency of the G20 next year, and our understanding from them is that they intend to continue to do so, and therefore it is quite difficult then to be in a situation where you are not attending deputies' meetings or discussions during our presidency and then to take over the presidency next year. From a finance track perspective, there has been engagement. We've been working on a communique last week and this week here in Zimbabwe. What's important about that is that it's a consensus document. And so all the members in the room have to agree to the language that is used there. And our US colleagues have been part of those discussions and negotiations.
Bringing the African markets into your home. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The G20 Summit through African eyes, live updates, and expert voices only on Channel Africa. The upside. On the upside. Your voice matters.
They call me. Are you go? Are you go? Are you go? Are you go? Are you? Are you go? Are you? The person tell me say I go fall for a woman like you. I go say in papa, mama, brother, sister, thunder, fire, all of them. Because this kind thing where you the do. I been no say you go fit move me. She not only me but you like overdo. She sweet you as she told me to move. That like the woman that I like. I feel no make everything alright. But if there's anything I can do, I saw we do, I'm with my mind. All of me jaw, don't be shy. You know you sweet my antenna. You must meet my antenna, my antenna, my antenna. Now you gon' let me be your one and only. Baby, oh baby. Now you gon' let me be your one and only. Baby, ooh baby. Couple goes not small. When we start our love, Rihanna go say she want her like this, oh. Couple goes not small. When we start our love, Beyonce go say she want her like this, oh. Hey, I just want to know if there be any chance for me and you. I just want to know, no, if there be any chance like the woman that I like. I feel no make everything alright. But if there's anything I can do, I saw we do, I'm with my mind. Allow me to don't be shy. You know you sweet my antenna. You mess with my antenna, my antenna, my antenna. Are you gon' let me be your one and only? Baby, oh baby. Are you gon'
Thank you for being here. This is The Upside, exclusive to Channel Africa. It is a Monday, a happy Monday to you. We're still in the first hour, checking in with some wonderful music as we open gateways on the African continent. Gone Gone by Techno coming through. And guess who's in the chairman's chair today? To talk all things what caught your eye. Sfiso Hlope, who is our social media specialist here on Channel Africa, is going to be joining me, and we're going to talk about the weekend that was and what is happening.
What a weekend!
Listen,
what a weekend!
Do we need to start a podcast with this? I
think this whole weekend needs a podcast of its own.
Right.
Thank you for having me, Teko.
You are most welcome. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to chat after that.
Keep Africa in your hands. Connect to our website for all your news, sports, and cultural updates. channelafrica.co.za.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa. Okay. Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa.
13:48. Well, we're almost 10 minutes away. We're 12 minutes away from the top of the hour. We've got a news bulletin coming through, but let's talk about
what caught your eye. I hope Tebuko's happy.
Oh no, I'm super happy. Like that is pretty close. How was the weekend?
Oh man, you know what? I had a very exciting weekend, but also there was a bit of just weirdness to it, right? So great news, I got a new dog. Her name is Zaza Azania. Yeah, Frenchie. She is the most amazing. She's a blue Frenchie. That's the good stuff.
That is cute.
Now I wouldn't say great stuff. I'm on the fence, because I really like the Super Eagles. But so there's serious bad blood between South Africa and Nigeria, particularly on the sports field. I don't want to get into the other political stuff. But on the sports so Nigeria just got knocked out of the FIFA qualifiers now. They were just supposed to, I think they just played DRC. This past weekend, got knocked out, lost on the penalty shootout. The Nigerian coach got into a physical fight, almost throwing a bottle at someone. It was caught off camera, during the penalty shootout, caused a whole lot of controversy. And then, our very own South African Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, commented and said, this needs to be looked into, needs to be investigated. And obviously there was a whole lot of uproar, a lot of South Africans saying, why are you entering this thing, as the age-old saying of ungenap, But when you look at the contrary or the other side of it is that this beef has been brewing for a while. South Africa was penalized because they played an ineligible player, right, in the group playoffs. So South Africa played which is Tebogo Mokoena, and them playing that player Nigeria, behind the scenes, were now, filing complaints and pressing, saying South Africa needs to be punished and whatnot. And eventually, South Africa had to get deducted points, but they won all the other games afterwards, so they've qualified, right? So it was a bit, like a bit sneaky for Nigeria to almost like dance I don't know, like it's almost like drinking someone's tears, essentially, and toasting to it. So the Nigerians were just so happy that South Africa's being docked points. They might not make it to the World Cup, but eventually they did, right? And then now Nigeria, on their end, on their campaign, they obviously the next game, I think it was a game against Gabon or something, and South African officials were actually the refs, so the VAR and the all the officials on the field, and Nigeria is disputing it, saying, no, how can a country that hates us so much be refereeing a game that's so contentious? Fast forward, my question to just everybody listening is, who's wrong? Is this karma for Nigeria because Nigeria just got knocked out of the World Cup? Is this a full circle moment? Because we know South African football has most of those players are locally born, bred, and they're playing in South Africa, which is a huge plus to the South African National Soccer League, which is the PSL. And 90% of that Nigerian squad barely sets foot in that country, because they live abroad, they play abroad and whatnot. And it's a testament to how well they've gone and what they've done. But when it comes down to football, the footballing gods do not lie.
Interesting analysis. Listen, I want to give you a whole show because that is pretty on point. But I'm actually listening to you and thinking, when it comes to football, there must be some level of healthy rivalry, where it's healthy, where it's kind of we're competing, but there is still love. So when it starts to filter out into other places that are ugly and nasty and political and xenophobic, then we have a problem. But I think that, competition and rivalry can be like healthy to some degree. And I think that's the kind of rivalry we want to see going forward because, listen, we're trying to build one another. Okay, Nigerian victory is a victory for all of Africa, and same with South Africa or Gabon or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I think, I agree with you completely. There's that. But while we are still qualifying, I think once we all go to the World Cup, everyone needs to root for the same.
For one country, yes. Yeah, I guess it gets a bit tricky because we're still trying to fight for the same piece of bread, yo.
It's done now. South Africa's in the World Cup. Nigeria isn't. And you know what? Cry me a river. What
did you say? I like that expression. Put the tears in the glass.
Yeah, it's like they're drinking South African
and toast to them
when it's tough. Wow. Here's a toast to Tseko's tears.
Very ugly. Entrepreneurship Week. I did mention that we just kickstarted today, the 17th of November, Global Entrepreneurship Week, or GEW, and it runs from the 17th until the 23rd, so that's all week, and it's celebrated all over the world, and it's for all countries, universities, organizations, whatever, and it's really about entrepreneurship and innovation and I think also business creation, which is very important in the time that we are now. But I wanted to acknowledge, I actually looked around, did a bit of research around a company that's doing something noteworthy on the continent. And I found out that Spiro, which is an electric mobile, or rather motorbike manufacturer, they operate in 4 different countries. So they are in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Rwanda, and Uganda. And they've basically secured a major $100 million funding round that is said to be the largest on the continent. And it's basically going to give back to the e-mobility sector, as it were. The bulk of the investment, so $75 million, comes from the fraud for export development in Africa, with the rest from the venture capital firm. So the company is basically planning to ramp up production to 15,000 electric bikes every single month, expanding local battery manufacturing. So, I mean, this is great for business. It's going to grow networks. It's going to grow communities for battery swapping and those types of things. So Spyro basically aims to have 100,000 electric motorbikes on African roads by the end of this year. Which I think is doable when we look at these numbers. The CEO of Spyro has also spoken about switching from petrol bikes to electric bikes. Like, there's just a lot of innovation that's happening with this 100 million, and I think they're really putting it to good use, and I think it's just noteworthy.
The irony of having so much funding going to an electric vehicle manufacturer, which is electric bike manufacturer, to a continent that barely has electricity. But yes, there is an upside to it, because I don't. So I mean, good luck for them putting electric bikes in African roads. It's we still want to grow as well as a continent. But I also think there's a huge opportunity for us to be manufacturing them locally in Africa and exporting it to countries that are leveraging off the e-mobility type of setup. So
I agree with you. But also I think perhaps, I mean, we're hoping that this will help supporting fraternities to up their game as well, to develop, energy spaces can develop if they see that there is a demand for electric motorbikes. Listen, I mean, that's obviously wishful thinking on my part. But I think what makes more investments sense at this time is definitely manufacturing here and exporting. Absolutely.
We've got the manpower, we've got the natural resources. We just need to establish those manufacturing lines locally. Honestly, us doing stuff for ourselves doesn't work. That's why the Western world gets natural resources, manufactures, and then sells it back to us. So I think we need to now start selling back to them as well.
Yes,
we can make e-bikes.
Of course we can, and we're well resourced and from an education point. And from a technological point of view, because there are many Africans across fraternities that have gone abroad to study and have come back to pour back and give resources back to the African continent. So those are the types of professionals that we need in these types of spaces. That's what caught our eye. You're welcome to tell us what caught your eye if you happen to catch this broadcast live. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, we're everywhere. Just search for Channel Africa.
Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Global leaders, African insights. Follow the G20 summit with Channel Africa as it happens. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
The United States was very vocal at the beginning of South Africa's G20 presidency, and this is largely due to strained relations with South Africa at the time, that they were not really keen on participating. Where do they stand right now?
The US is planning to take over the presidency of the G20 next year, and our understanding from them is that they intend to continue to do so, and therefore it is quite difficult then to be in a situation where you are not attending deputies' meetings or discussions during our presidency and then to take over the presidency next year. From a finance track perspective, there has been engagement. We've been working on a communique last week and this week here in Zimbabwe. What's important about that is that it's a consensus document. And so all the members in the room have to agree to the language that is used there. And our US colleagues have been part of those discussions and negotiations.
Bringing the African markets into your home. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
Welcome, dear Upsider. Thank you for staying with us on the show. We are in the second hour of the show, the golden hour. And of course, since it's a Monday, we explore all things property. We're going to be talking about Cape Town's Golden Acre complex and the fact that it is set for a major transformation following its recent acquisition by a really big company in partnership with another big organization. So we're going to talk about this development and what it means for the people of Cape Town, and especially the investors, the people that want to make lots of money from this wonderful initiative. So stay tuned. We're going to be speaking about that in or straight after the news bulletin that is. It is 2 o'clock. Jolane Tulongwepe standing by with the latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Top stories: a Sawa gunman attack a school in Nigeria, and Bangladesh's former Prime Minister sentenced to death. Good afternoon. Gunmen have attacked a government boarding school in Nigeria's Kebbi state, killing the vice principal and abducting an unspecified number of female students. The assailants, armed with rifles and reportedly using coordinated tactics, stormed the government girls' comprehensive secondary school in Margaret Town at around 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. Vice Principal Hassani Yakubu Makuku was shot dead while resisting the attackers, and a security guard sustained injuries. The gunman fled towards the neighbouring state of Zamfara with the abducted students. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. South Africa's International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola says the G20 summit in South Africa this weekend will be well attended. This after leaders of China, Mexico and Argentina only sending senior officials to represent their heads of state, while the US is not attending in all levels. Russia's President Vladimir Putin is still facing a warrant of arrest from the International Criminal Court. Lamola, addressing the media in Nasrec, Johannesburg, says the summit will go ahead and make pronouncements without those leaders.
Whether do we read anything to this as a snub of some sort or undermining Africa? No. We don't see this as a snub or undermining of Africa. In all multilateral platforms events, it does happen for whatever reasons that heads of states are not able to attend, and they will delegate whoever they decide to delegate. Is nothing abnormal. Even ourselves sometimes, I represent President Ramaphosa in many platforms.
The UN humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, says his team needs urgent access to the devastated Sudanese city of Al Fasher to help civilians still stranded there. He says that the number of people leaving the city has been lower than expected, and he's having tough conversations with the paramilitary rapid support forces now controlling the city to let in aid. Fletcher is on a visit to the Darfur region, which he describes as the current epicenter of global inhumanity.
We want to get our investigation teams in urgently, and that's been part of the reason for me being here, is to negotiate the access for our teams. And of course we want to get those life-saving aid convoys into Al Fasher. We want to see the UN flag and our humanitarian partners inside Al Fasher responding as best we can to the needs of the survivors.
United Kingdom Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will announce sweeping reforms to the UK's asylum policy when she addresses MPs today. The changes will include fast-tracking the deportation of illegal migrants, an overhaul of human rights law, and plans to end multiple appeals against removal. Mahmood has also threatened to stop granting visas to people from 3 African countries, namely Angola, Namibia and the DRC, if their governments do not improve cooperation on removals of illegal migrants. The UK wants the government to increase cooperation with the UK's attempts to deport their nationals. In a statement, it says visa bans would be imposed unless they accept the return of their criminals and illegal immigrants, saying the threat of penalties is because of unacceptably low cooperation and obstructive returns processes. And finally, a tribunal in Dakar has sentenced the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to death. This after finding her guilty of crimes against humanity and ordering forces to kill protesters. Hasina is being tried in absentia, having fled to India after a student-led revolt ousted her from power. Hasina says a kangaroo court orchestrated a trial that political opponents controlled. The BBC's Arunde Mukherjee has the latest.
Sheikh Hasina, along with her former Home Minister and police chief, were found guilty of allowing the use of lethal force against protesters and failing to prevent atrocities against them. The court read out all charges against the accused, detailing the scale of the violence in the police action. The deposed leader denies all charges in the crackdown, where the UN says hundreds were killed. The protests ended with Miss Hasina fleeing to India, where she has been living ever since.
Recapping the top story, the Sawa gunmen have attacked a government boarding school in Nigeria's Kebbi state, killing the vice principal and abducting an unspecified number of female students. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Cholani Tulo Mwepe.
SABC News. The the African perspective. Be inspired. Stay informed. Channel Africa, the beauty of life. Now available anytime, anywhere with our new app. The afternoon conversations continue on The Upside. Lifestyle, culture, and global changes. Right here on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
6 minutes into 2 p.m. in Central African time. Welcome to the golden hour of The Upside. My name is Mmatsheko Mosito. Just in case you started listening, I'm here to host The Upside for you, exclusive to Channel Africa until 4 p.m. in Central African time. Cape Town's Golden Acre complex is set for a major transformation. That is what we're going to be looking at for our property feature this week, because we do this every single Monday. All right. And we're looking at just this recent acquisition and the partnerships that are involved, developers, Gary Moore, as well as Roloff Delport, basically in partnership for this acquisition. We're going to look at the redevelopment as it marks the next chapter for one of the city's most familiar landmarks, located at a very busy meeting point. And we're going to talk about location, definitely, but also just the history of this building, what it represents, and the Golden Acre that is now to undergo a large-scale upgrade, what this means for its conversion, what it means for residents, what it means potentially for commercial use, and all of that in between. So any property news in your neck of the woods, wherever you may be listening from, whether it is in Nairobi, in Addis Ababa, in Ouagadougou, in where else? In Lagos, in Accra, in Maseru, in Maputo, whatever the city is. Let us know what is happening in your neck of the woods. I'd love to know what the property sector is looking like in other parts of the African continent. But that is what we're going to be speaking about in just a moment, so stay with us.
Your afternoons just got even better, fresh and exciting. The Upside, hooking you up with today's news from an African perspective.
Ukatili wa kijinsia unaharibu maisha na kutenga jamii. Hutokea nyumbani, shuleni, kazini na mara nyingi kwa ukimya. Lakini hauwezi kuendelea. Ukiona, ongea. Ikiwa unaumia, funguka, kwa sababu kutofanya lolote sio chaguo. Sikiliza vituo vyote 19 vya redio kuanzia Jumatano ya tarehe 23 Julai kwenye mijadala, ushauri, tamthilia, maonyesho ya elimu na mahojiano na wataalamu, manusura, watunga sheria na nchi nzima iliyoathirika na ukatili wa kijinsia kwenye vituo vyako pendwa vya redio. Piga simu 0800 428 ili kuripoti unyanyasaji au kupata msaada. GBV, ikomeshwe na wewe. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na shirika la SABC.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa. Okay. Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Ntivani, da música em todo o lado, a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music @channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Broadcasting in 5 different languages, connecting the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Fire mata, I be akka go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town. Oh, Eva, Eva, oh, Eva. If I ever be your man, I go choose you before everybody. Oh, Eva, Eva, oh, Eva. If I ever be your man, I go choose you before everybody. Oh, 2, 3, 4. Call my number +234. What the hell are you waiting for? Fry my brain with your cooking pot, baby, no way to. Full import, sexy girl in a blue pin Porsche. Smash up girl, we don't need my funds. Oh my lord, oh. Oh, Eva, Eva, oh, Eva. If I ever be your man, I go choose you before everybody. Oh, Eva, Eva, oh, Eva. Fire mata, I be akka go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town. Fire mata, I be akka go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town.
Dans mon trône, il me manque une vraie queen. Une vraie. Maintenant que t'es là. Je suis tout à toi, t'inquiète pas, je suis sous emprise. Nana Kobalo, Nana Lela, Nana Yo. T'es ma meilleure carte d'Afrique.
Oh, Eva, Eva, oh, Eva. If I ever be your man, I go choose you before everybody. Oh, Eva, Eva, oh, Eva. Fire mata, I be akka go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town. Akka. Fire mata, I be akka go. Fire mata, I go carry go. Fire mata, I go scatter city, scatter town. Axi lady from Africa, oh yo yo, original.
14:14 on the digital clock. Thank you for staying with us here on Channel Africa's The Upside. A pleasure to have you join us here this afternoon. We're here on a daily basis. That's weekdays 1 to 4 p.m. exclusive to channelafrica.co.za. You can check out our new app. You can inform yourself on the various shows and also what The Upside is about. And welcome home in case you're new here. A pleasure to have you on board. Let's talk all things property. Okay, we do so every single Monday. We talk property. And this time around, we're looking at what's happening in Southern Africa, particularly here in South Africa, with Cape Town's Golden Acre complex that is set for a major transformation following its recent acquisition by Putirex, a partnership that is led by developers Gray Moore and Rulof Delport. All right, this redevelopment, as we understand it, is one that marks the next chapter for one of the city's most familiar landmarks. It's located at a very busy point, and we're going to look at it. We're going to look at how it has been known as a central hub for commuters. The Golden Acre will now undergo a large-scale upgrade, and that is basically going to convert it into something special. We're going to talk about what that something special is. Planning this project began in the previous year, as I understand. So 2024, with construction expected to start soon and finish by early 2027. This is a redevelopment that introduces more than 400 affordable rental units. Okay, I've kind of revealed what's going to be happening, but I'm not going to reveal anymore because we need to get a deeper understanding as to why this redevelopment is happening to begin with. On the line with me is Mmatsheko Mosito, Director at Gracht Asset Management, and we're going to talk about this project. Mmatsheko, welcome to Channel Africa. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Let's talk about the history behind Cape Town's Golden Acre complex. I mentioned a little bit of its significance for commuters and residents. Yes, what else can you tell us about its significance at this time?
Historically, the Golden Acre has been at the epicenter of Cape Town CBD life. In its previous life, it was a commercial office tower, and then you obviously had the retail on the ground floor. And then the other big important component of the Golden Acre is the fact that it sits at the center of the public transport interchange for the city. So its neighbor is the Cape Town train station. Behind it is the Golden Era bus terminus, and next to the train station is the taxi rank. So in terms of public transport, there's always been this relationship between Golden Acre and public transport. And even if you spend time talking to people about Golden Acre, for a lot of people, it was their weekly Saturday outing destination. So it's always been at the core of social life in the Cape Town CBD.
Okay, there's my mic is on now. Okay, let's discuss the strategic vision then behind Putirek's acquisition of the Golden Acre, and also how this then, or rather how this redevelopment aligns with the broader trends that we are seeing in Cape Town as it regenerates itself in the urban space, if you will.
A big challenge and a big criticism of developments in the city has been that there's a lack of accessible residential stock in the city. So there's all of this development happening, but there aren't enough people living in the city. And what we're trying to address with this development is to get to a point where there's a sizable number of young South Africans who can live and work in the city. Because when you look at the transport, the traffic challenges coming in and out of the city, we think that there's an opportunity for all of those people to not be driving in and out of the city every day, but for them to be living in the city.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for tuning in. If you've started listening, we are talking about the Golden Acre complex situated in Cape Town and the major transformation that is currently underway as put together by Putirex in partnership led by developers Gary Moore as well as Roelof Delport. On the line with me is Mmatsheko Mosito, Director at Gracht Asset Management, and we're really unpacking the significance of this redevelopment. Let's take a break.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Leo tujadili kuhusu chipukizi wanaoimba nyimbo za wasanii wengine. Unadhani hili linatokana na nini, Omari?
Nadhani kweli kwamba tukizama muziki ya sasa, hasa wasanii ambao ni chipukizi, kwa kweli kwamba yani karibu kutoka muziki wao wenyewe, lakini wanakuwa wanapenda kuhubiria muziki ya zamani na muziki ya wengine ambao ni hivyo.
Wengine wanadai kufanya hivyo ni kupromote vipaji vyao haraka ili waweze kujulikana. Je, yawezekana kukawa na ukweli wowote au ndio kukosa kabisa kipaji cha kuandika mistari?
Ndio, hiyo unaona kwamba msanii anapoazimia kwamba kuchukua wimbo mwingine wa msanii mwingine na kurudia yani mara mbili sivyo, haionyeshi kwamba yani ndo wanaanza kazi ya muziki aizani, lakini ukiangalia kabisa asilimia kubwa utakuja kuona kwamba wanakosa ile mawazo ya kutunga muziki.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
The G20 Summit through African eyes, live updates, and expert voices only on Channel Africa. The Upside. On the Upside, your voice matters.
Welcome to the Upside, where we just create gateways for you to get a sense of what's happening on the African continent. And of course, on Mondays, we focus on property in the golden hour. We're looking at a redevelopment project that's taking place with the Golden Acre Complex in Cape Town. On the line is Mmatsheko Mosito, who is joining me in his capacity as director at Gracht Asset Management. Mmatsheko, you mentioned, getting people into the city, living, working, just functioning well in the city and not having to travel long distances, for example, to get to workplaces. Let's talk about how this project then is going to deliver the 400 affordable rental units, and also how you are, through this project, then redefining affordability. How do you define affordability? How do you measure that? What do you take into account for this particular makeover?
So in the city at the moment, and not just in the city, but just across the country, the government has implemented affordable housing initiatives, and in South Africa, we refer to those as RDP housing. So there is a solution for people who sit at the lower end of the market, and obviously then at the higher end of the market, you then have people who have the means to purchase assets, sometimes even for investment in the city. What we are addressing is what we refer to as the missing middle. There are young professionals who are into their first or second job, who have a substantial amount of earning power, substantial amount of disposable income, but not quite ready to go up the property ladder and acquire residential property. And so when we talk about affordability, that's who we are talking to. It's the young professional who's working at the city, or a young attorney working for a law firm in the city, or somebody working for a bank. So that's the missing middle that we want to talk to. And so when we talk about affordability, it is within that context.
Okay. And then also, the kinds of communal facilities. A lot of people, or at least, I live in Johannesburg, so there's a lot of that going on in Johannesburg with lifestyle amenities. People are looking for that in spaces that they'd like to move into, for example. So how is that being reflected in the shift, particularly in inner city living in Cape Town? Is that a thing there?
It's a big consideration for us, and it's a big focus for us. So what we've done is that we've appointed a company called Neighborgood, who will be the operator of the residential component of the development. Neighborgood have a sizable portfolio in Cape Town of properties that they own and manage. They've actually now started making inroads in the San Francisco market in the US. So that's who we've brought on board to handle the day-to-day operations of the residential component of the development. And what they focus a lot on is in creating that sense of community. So one of the big investments that we're making is in a community clubhouse, which has a restaurant facility, has outdoor exercise facilities. We're looking at an outdoor cinema. We've got a gym that we're looking at also having on site. So the amenities beyond your front door are a big reason why people would want to look at staying with us. And so that's where a lot of effort is going into to make sure that it's a well curated experience. And also, I mean, in as much as you'll have a development of 400 plus units, it can be quite lonely moving into a space where you don't know anybody. So a big part of the work that Neighborhood will be doing is in creating this sense of community, a running club, a yoga club, a pizza night. So finding ways to create a real sense of community so that people don't just wake up in the morning, leave the building, come back in the evening, and don't interact with each other.
Right. I mean, you've literally thought of everything clearly, which is wonderful. But with construction expected to conclude in early 2027, what are the key milestones that you can tell us, and perhaps the potential challenges that you foresee in ensuring that the project maintains on schedule, or remains rather on schedule, and also in delivering, what you are planning on delivering in terms of the social and economic aspects of the project?
So I mean, the first hurdle has been to get the contractors on site, which has happened. So the building works in the tower have started. And that comes with its own challenges because you had tenants in the tower who are the office tenants that we had previously. So just getting, starting the work, but also not inconveniencing the people who are still actually working in the building has been a challenge, and one that we've overcome. The next hurdle is in the new year, where the work starts in the retail space. Now, there are two obvious stakeholders that one needs to look after. One is the existing pool of retail tenants who are in the center, and the second one is uh, the the commuters and the clients who come into the center itself. So keeping those people happy going into the new year will be the next big challenge. And then the other bit of work, which is a challenge and we are already involved in, is, for example, work with the last mile service providers, whether it's the scooters, whether it's your Uber Eats or your Woolies or your Take a Lot. There's a whole new economy that has now been created around that last mile sector, and we are now working with them to find a way to make it easy for them to come and collect whatever it is that they're collecting from the center, and not inconvenience pedestrians, for example, by parking on the pavement and giving them proper parking facilities. We're actually taking it further and creating a facility for them on site so that they have a place to charge their phones, they have a place to rest in between shifts. There are ablution facilities, so showers, etc., for them. So that's a project that we're starting and actually have a meeting on tomorrow. And then the last bit of work that we're doing is just the neighborhood itself. We, like I said earlier, are at the center of this public transport interchange. So starting to do work with cleaning up the bus terminus, access into the center from the taxi rank. So there's a bit of work that has been done there with all the stakeholders in the neighborhood. So those are the kind of main challenges beyond the day-to-day niggles. But I'm fairly confident in the team that we have, and that we will be able to meet our commitments to have both the residential and the retail done on schedule.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're on the right track. I think also just looking at spaces of urbanization and Cape Town being one of the leaders, Cape Town with the Central Business District really leading innovation, technology, and what smart cities could possibly look like in the future. But I think this is definitely a fine example of that. We can't wait to possibly visit Cape Town and visit a whole new Golden Acre complex that is currently under transformation. Lesotho, thank you very much for the time and all the best with the project. Hey.
Thank you so much. Look forward to hosting you when it's all put together and you get to experience a reimagined Golden Acre.
Absolutely. Cannot wait for that. That is Lesotho Majatladi joining me in his capacity as director at Gracht Asset Management. And we're talking about one of Cape Town's most iconic large-scale complexes, if you will. It's been in existence since 1979 and currently going through what do we call it? A facelift, if you will. Okay, and this is a project that is going to conclude in the year 2027. It is 2:30. Figilele Ngwati standing by with sports.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Yes, indeed. I will begin with football news. Curacao could become the smallest country to compete at the World Cup. Conflict-torn Haiti may defy the odds, and another small nation, Suriname, has a chance to qualify for the first time when the CONCACAF qualifiers conclude on Tuesday. But there are 4 other countries, Costa Rica, Honduras, Jamaica, and Panama, also in the running for 3 automatic berths reserved at the expanded 48-nation 2026 finals for teams from Central and North American and Caribbean confederations. Each of the 3 group winners advances to the tournament in Canada, Mexico, and the US next June, while the 2 best-ranked runners-up will go into the Inter-Confederation playoffs in March, where 2 more World Cup places will be decided. On to rugby news. Springbok captain Siyakolisi says his side displayed their South Africanness in their last 2 wins on their end-of-year tour against France last week and on Saturday against Italy. Kolisi refused to vent about losing a player in each of the last 2 matches to a red card, but rather pointed out that the Springboks in both instances were able to make a plan on the fly to get the win. The Boks have 3 wins from 3 matches on tour and moved to Dublin to face Ireland this coming Saturday night.
We went through it last weekend, and this week again we're going through the same thing. So we make plans in the game as we go, because we know things happen. I mean, the biggest thing that we've been asked this week is to show our South Africanness, and that's making plans along the way, and there's always stumbles along the way.
Coach Rassie Erasmus was also not vocal against the successive red cards, but did plead for a bit of common sense as he looked at the problem from a coaching perspective.
Losing 2-5 locks in 2 games for not going lower than they can low, it's tough to understand. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong by that, but we don't know how to coach guys more different to go lower. We are really a bit in a fix for a 2-meter guy and a 2.06-meter guy to go lower than a guy on his knee.
Some more rugby news. The Springboks will host England, Scotland and Wales in July 2026 as the new Nations Championship launches with a northern invasion of the Southern Hemisphere, where every match will count as teams aim to finish the season as the top test side on the planet. The groundbreaking Nations Championship, a landmark joint venture between SANZA and Six Nations Rugby to create a new biennial tournament, was officially launched on Monday, with the 12 biggest nations in world rugby colliding in a competitive new tournament that will reshape the future of the global game. The SANZA nations, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia and Argentina, plus invitational teams, Japan and Fiji, will represent the Southern Hemisphere in the new competition played in the 2 existing international windows in July and November against the Six Nations teams, England, France, Ireland, Italy, Scotland and Wales. The finals weekend, scheduled for the 27th to the 29th of November 2026, will deliver world-class sporting entertainment to fans, with 3 days of double headers taking center stage at the Allianz Stadium in London. We wrap up with golf. Adam Schenk battled through blustery conditions in Sunday's final round to capture the Bermuda Championship for his first USPGA Tour title. With winds gusting up to 40 kilometers per hour, the 33-year-old American fired a level par 71 to finish 72 holes on 12 under 272 at Port Royal in Southampton, Bermuda. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fide Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Every voice matters. Every moment counts. Celebrate life with Channel Africa. The African perspective. Now in your pocket. Global leaders, African insights. Follow the G20 summit with Channel Africa as it happens.
2:35. It is still the second hour of the Upside. Thabiso Lohoko standing by at the business desk with the latest.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Mmatsheko, and good afternoon. The South African rand held its ground in early trading on Monday, shrugging off S&P Global's first credit upgrade of the country since 2005, a move to BB from BB with a positive outlook as investors shifted focus to this week's looming interest rate decision. The rand traded at 17.7 against the US dollar, little changed from its Friday close. Head of Market Risk at Treasury One, Richard Celius, says the muted reaction reflects the move was largely priced in, though the upgrade, combined with Treasury's backing of a 3% inflation target, supports South Africa's long-term risk profile. Gambling regulatory bodies from across Africa are expected to gather in the Sun City Resort in the northwest province of South Africa. They include bodies from Botswana, Kenya, Swaziland and Tanzania. The Gambling Regulators Africa Forum will start today and end on Friday. The growing challenge of the illegal gambling will be under the spotlight. Boitumelo Qalinye is the acting chief executive officer of the Northwest Gambling Board.
The conference will be attended by various member states from different countries in the continent. Action is to be taken against illegal gambling. Illegal gambling is a big problem for the industry, as it undermines the public trust and it deprives governments of critical revenue.
South Africa's MTN Group says its service revenue for the 9 months to September rose by 25.9%, driven by strong performances in Nigeria and Ghana. Africa's biggest telecom operator, which has more than 300 million customers in 16 markets across the continent, says that excluding the effect of currency fluctuations, group service revenue increased by 22.6%. MTN Nigeria led growth with a 57.1% rise in service revenue, while MTN Ghana rose at 35.9%, supported by lower inflation and more stable exchange rates. Africa's leaders and economic experts are sounding the alarm over a rapidly worsening debt crisis, now topping $1.3 trillion. At a high-level media briefing recently, chairperson of the G20 Africa expert panel, Trevor Manuel, warned that the system governing global lending is pushing African countries toward social and economic breaking points. Manuel says that the design of the global financial system, especially the role of rating agencies, is driving up the cost of borrowing for African economies, even when countries have similar economic fundamentals to those in the global north.
The issue of debt this year is so extensively canvassed. It's quite important that we find solutions and not just tinker at the margins, amongst other issues. Quite important is the way in which cost of capital is raised, and one of the key metrics there would be the role of the ratings agencies. And you have to ask about the structure of ratings and how that feeds into the cost of capital and how we will unpack that going forward.
Stocks and bond yields held firm as markets paused for a breath after a wobble in tech stocks last week that could resume or reverse when $5 trillion chip maker Nvidia reports earnings on Wednesday. Investors also await headline US jobs data due on Thursday, albeit the report may do little more than confirm earlier private market surveys showing the labour market had slowed. Europe's benchmark index of 600 big stocks rose 0.1% in subdued trading Monday morning, with Wall Street looking set to follow the steady mood as S&P 500 futures ticked 0.6% higher at Nasdaq 100 futures rose 1%. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 440, Botswana 13 pula 665, Kenya 128 shilling 2, and Zambia 22 kwacha 44. The BRICS countries and Brazil, the dollar will cost you 5 ruble 29, Russia 80 rubles 78, India 88 rupees 65, China 719, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 17 rand 6 cents. 75 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Gold is trading at $4,079. Platinum, $1,547 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $63.89 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Thabiso Lohoko.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in business on Channel Africa.
The United States was very vocal at the beginning of South Africa's G20 presidency, and this is largely due to strained relations with South Africa at the time, that they were not really keen on participating. Where do they stand right now?
The US is planning to take over the presidency of the G20 next year, and our understanding from them is that they intend to continue to do so, and therefore it is quite difficult then to be in a situation where you are not attending deputies' meetings or discussions during our presidency and then to take over the presidency next year. From a finance track perspective, there has been engagement. We've been working on a communique last week and this week here in Zimbabwe. What's important about that is that it's a consensus document. And so all the members in the room have to agree to the language that is used there. And our US colleagues have been part of those discussions and negotiations.
Bringing the African markets into your home. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The G20 Summit through African eyes, live updates, and expert voices only on Channel Africa. The upside. On the upside. Your voice matters.
We're fast approaching 2:45 p.m. in Central African time. Welcome to The Upside, exclusive to Channel Africa. We continue our theme in this hour of just looking at what's happening in property. We do it every single Monday where we talk all things property related. We were in Cape Town just a few moments ago, and now we're just going to look at the rental space here in South Africa and what the market looks like currently. And it looks like residential rental market here in South Africa is entering a very complex period that is marked by strong price growth and rising pressures on tenants, unfortunately. So the latest TPN residential rental monitor shows that while rental escalations continue to climb above inflation, many households are still struggling to keep up. Payment performance has begun to slow, and many tenants are leaning on credit to stay afloat. These shifts are creating new risks for landlords, which must be navigated by what is happening in the market. And it appears that there's a steady space in terms of looking at signs and strains. Waldo Marcus, Director of Corporate Marketing, says that data points are looking stable, yet slowing the market down, and that requires some attention and careful planning, obviously, as we look at things. Waldo is joining me on the line this afternoon for a conversation. Waldo, thank you very much for the time. It looks like South Africa's rental market is showing strong price escalations, as I've mentioned. But what does this mean now for the tenants themselves?
Yeah, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners. The past couple of quarters, the residential rental market from a landlord's perspective or investor perspective has performed really well. We've seen tenants meeting their rental obligation quarter on quarter. That has improved, meaning that landlords are getting their rent on time or within that specific month. They've seen healthier rental escalations or rental growth year on year. And yields have also been improving, and that has really shown the resilience of a consumer that has been since 2020 really been under severe pressure with higher interest rates, with inflation ticking up, households' income not keeping up with inflation. Yet the tenant and the consumer has really been committed to ensuring that they maintain a good payment profile for their residential rental property. Demand has increased, so we've seen vacancies drop. And that's also now translated into really good rental growth going forward. However, the quarter three of this year, we've seen that rental good standing, and just for your listeners, giving them an idea of a tenant is classified in good standing if they've met their rental obligation in full by the end of the month. And that's despite the higher rental escalation and growth. We've seen that tenants are in good standing, but it's really slowed down compared to what we've seen from the first to the second quarter. And traditionally, we see the fourth quarter slow down in good payment behavior with residential tenants as payment behavior, but also priorities of people's budgets change, especially over the festive season, resulting in some slippages to pay their landlords and for their rental accommodation on time.
Right. It's very complex, isn't it, Waldo? Because you're speaking about the fact that, look, things are on the up and up. Tenants are able to pay their rentals on time, which then means that's good news for the landlord. But we are looking at a very mixed and fragile landscape here, because affordability for the tenants is tightening, and that's not something we can ignore. So let's look at that and perhaps incorporate the landlord in this response as well, because they're also now facing growing pressures to be able to balance their books, if you will. The competitive pricing is another one that requires careful screening. So yeah, let's look at those pointers.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that we also look at historic rental escalations and growth. So rental escalations in the past, and we looked back from late 2018 up until mid 2024, where CPI was much higher than what the average rental escalation was, meaning that landlords were absorbing the variable cost between security, maintenance, other expenses, plus higher interest rates. But due to demand and supply, and tenants in terms of affordability were still recovering from 2020, they very cautiously applied these rental escalations. In late 2024, we started seeing that the rental escalations continued its upward trend while we've seen CPI dropping. So there's a bit of catch up that these landlords and investors are trying to make, considering the historic discrepancy or difference between CPI and what rental escalations were able to achieve. So again, property as a long-term investment, landlords historically has really approached it with a lot of caution to ensure that they don't outprice their properties. But we also have to consider the shift in how people consume property. First-time home buyers are entering the market much later in their stage, and that's due to the cost of property to purchase these. So they're staying in the rental market for longer. Yet we don't necessarily see the same amount of supply coming online. So investors, especially during high interest rate periods, kind of hold back on developing new properties due to the cost of capital. Now, we've seen the interest rates coming down, therefore we expect more residential rental units coming online. As soon as we see more supply in the market, demand, of course, is met, and then we start seeing more vacancies coming through. When there's more vacancies, landlords approach again would be is like, I rather price my rental property, which makes it attractive to tenants. A very interesting statistic. So we looked at our rental data, and the lowest rental value band, those of 3,000 or less a month that they paid for their rental accommodation, have not performed well when it comes to getting rental payments on time. Yet the rental escalations in that bracket is high. We further looked into that below 1,500 rental market, and we've seen their rental escalations going up to just over 7% year on year. Understanding what's the dynamics in that market, it's a rebasing of pricing. So a lot of units came in, and it made it very attractive for tenants to move in, low rentals, rental rebates within that first year, and then to ensure the landlord does make a return, increase those a lot more aggressively than what we've seen within that mid-market range of between 7,000 and 12,000 rand mark. What this is saying is that the lower rental value bands, although they have not seen, they are experiencing high rental growth, that we're starting to see cracks in the payment behavior of those tenants. Affordability doesn't matter how desperate someone is for rental accommodation. If they just cannot pay it, they will slip on their payment behavior, and that of course will filter into potentially people vacating, starting to room share, etc. So these are very early signs, and we usually start picking these up in the lower rental value bands.
Right. Okay, and actually, just on that note, I really would like us to look at the struggle and how deep it goes, because data, I mean, this is very important data, and data then informs strategy going forward for the landlords and even for the tenant themselves in terms of, where do I move? Do I move to a lower income space, a smaller space, or what the case is? So we're going to really look at how widespread this is across the different income bands, if you will. On the line with me is Waldo Marcus, joining me in his capacity as Director of Corporate Marketing at TPN. And we are looking at the latest TPN residential rental monitor that is showing that while rental escalations continue to climb in South Africa above inflation, many households are still struggling to keep up.
Call us on +27 63 406 9126 and contribute to the conversation. Global leaders, African insights. Follow the G20 summit with Channel Africa as it happens. Celebrate life every day. Tune in to Channel Africa. Stay connected through a new website and free mobile app. The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
Thank you for staying with us. This is us on The Upside. It's second hour of the show, and we are talking property in this hour, looking at the TPN residential rental monitor and its indication of the rental space. And using, of course, South Africa as an example here on the show. Waldo Marcus is still on the line with me, Director of Corporate Marketing at TPN. Waldo, let's unpack for a second the issue around, how strenuous it is across the income brackets. You did note that payment performances are beginning to slow. So talk to us about the specific trends or perhaps indicators that are signaling that tenants are starting to struggle. And let's look at the different strands in the different income groups.
So our rental value bands really it gives us an idea of the different affordability structures and how tenants are performing. And just for the listeners to get a benchmark, the national average of tenants in good standing is 84%. So that means about 84% of tenants have met their full rental obligation and have made payments. The balance consists of people that's made a partial payment or they haven't made any payment towards their rental obligation. Now, considering that 85% or 84% in rental in good standing, the lowest rental value band, those paying less than 3,000, is sitting at 70%. So only 7 out of 10 tenants in that rental bracket is making payments on time. And that's been slipping since the Q4 of 2024. So for the past 4 quarters, we've seen a downward trend. Now, if we look at the highest rental value band, so those paying 25,000 Rand or more, the luxury market is sitting at about 84.12%, so just above that national average. Those in the middle market, so we call that the mid market, those paying between 7 to 12 and then the 12 to 25, both of those are sitting around about the 88, so almost 9 out of 10 tenants. So the lowest rental value band, where you expect about 7 out of 10, while your better performing rental value bands, which is the mid market or mid to higher market, is sitting at the almost 9 out of 10. So this is a clear indication that those with a lower disposable income, and although they take on lower rental value accommodation, they are struggling. There is, of course, less disposable income as food prices, transport prices, etc. increase. It just becomes impossible to pay. So what does it leave a tenant to do? So they can either vacate the property, and that's where we're starting to see that's lower rental value band accommodation, so those below the 1,500. So those are room shares, or it's multi-lets, it's multi-rooms within a property where a room is rented out as opposed to the entire house. And we started seeing that demand go up. But with that demand going up, the rebasing of rental prices came through. And it is very important to understand also the size of the various rental value bands. Now, the lowest rental value band makes up about 13% of the total rental population in South Africa within the formal market, while the luxury market only makes up 1.8. The biggest rental population rents between that 7,000 and 12,000 Rand a month mark, and that is at 29.8, so almost 30%, almost a third of tenants rent within that 7 to 12,000 Rand a month rental band. Yet we're also seeing the best payment behavior sitting within those. So those tenants that are within that mid-market range are really committed to ensuring that their rental is paid on time. Now, coming back to a very important key performance indicator is that we need to consider that, yes, if someone is paying on time and there's a big demand for it because it's a big part of the rental population, are we going to see more aggressive rental escalations coming through in this market? And that is not necessarily the case. We've seen rental escalations being applied a little bit more cautiously, rather sitting with a good tenant occupying your property, then sitting vacant potentially for a month or two, finding a tenant that is going to be giving you problems down the line. So landlords and investors in that rental bracket has really taken a holistic approach and strategy in ensuring that their assets are providing good returns, consistent good returns, but also where it benefits a tenant is that the properties are well maintained, well looked after, and there is a focus on retaining them because they are predictable in a good way, that they are meeting their rental obligations, and that gives the landlord the security to continue expanding and providing good stock for the housing market.
This is very interesting. Oh my goodness, and there's a lot of data. So just in finality, let's talk about the landlord then. Where does he fit into this puzzle, or she fit into this puzzle? Because for landlords, the market appears stable. but this is on the surface, if I could put it that way, because we are seeing these some underlying fragilities, as I hear you speak, Waldo. So what is key? What are the key risks that landlords should be preparing for, especially, let's look at the next 12 to 18 months?
I think the most important one, and is again, this is a holistic view. We go down to provincial level, but you can we can drill down into suburb level and city level, and depending on the province, depending on service delivery, but depending on bulk services, that makes a real big impact on the performance of any type of property, be it that you own the property in terms of value growth, or when it comes to rental property, that you attract the right tenant with that is going to pay on time, you're able to service it. Another factor, and this is coming in terms of the tenant that is occupying your property. So TP and Credit Bureau that specialize in screening tenants before they are placed, we look at those initial risk profiles. So a tenant is screened before they take occupation. They then approve, they take occupation. But we all know a consumer and a household's lives change. There can be retrenchments, there can be job losses, there can be health issues. And the landlord doesn't necessarily have a clear line of sight of what's going on. So just as a very high level, we've got tenants that were at application, low risk, were about 58%. And the rest were spread between average and very high and high risk. But as a tenant stays within that property, two things happen. They either become lower risk or they become higher risk. So they move up. Okay. So that shows that when a tenant is in the property, and the landlord needs to consider that risk will change over period.
Okay. Waldo, thank you very much. We have unfortunately run out of time, but this was just a fair indicator, I think, for anyone in this business. This was valuable information. Waldo Marcus, Director of Corporate Marketing at TPN, looking at the residential market and particularly for tenants in South Africa. 3:01, Jolani Tulo Mwepe standing by with the latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Mmatsheko. Our top stories this hour. South Africa will not again allow any flights carrying undocumented Palestinians seeking to enter the country. And Ukraine secures an important deal to obtain air defense hardware from France. Good afternoon. South Africa's International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola says South Africa will not again allow any flights carrying undocumented Palestinians seeking to enter the country to apply for refugee status. He says it seems is an orchestrated operation to remove people from Palestine to different parts of the world. This follows the arrival of Palestinians at the OR Tambo International Airport without proper documentation. Addressing the media in Nasrec in Johannesburg on the G20 State of Readiness for the Leaders Summit this weekend, Lamola said government is investigating the matter.
We are suspicious as the South African government about the circumstances surrounding the arrival of the plane and the passengers that were in the plane. And this matter is a subject of investigation that must be thoroughly investigated, and the South African public will know at some stage. But it is indeed an issue of concern to us. It does look like it's represent a broader agenda to remove Palestinians from Palestine.
Gunmen have attacked a government boarding school in Nigeria's Kebbi state, killing the vice principal and abducting an unspecified number of female students. The assailants arrived with rifles and reportedly using coordinated tactics stormed the government girls' comprehensive secondary school in Maga town at around 1 a.m. local time. Vice Principal Hassan Yakubu Makuku was shot dead while resisting the attackers, and a security guard sustained injuries. The gunmen fled towards the neighbouring state of Zamfara with the abducted students. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. South Africa's governing African National Congress has tightened its rules and guidelines to select candidates to represent the party ahead of the 2026 local government elections. This was announced by the party's electoral committee at a media briefing at the ANC's headquarters in Johannesburg today. The party says the revised rules are aimed at improving the capacity of its councillors to provide strategic direction and oversight to municipalities. Amongst the selection criteria is that candidates must possess a matric certificate and or have the capacity or experience to make a constructive contribution within the municipal council. ANC electoral chairperson is Khalema Motlanthe.
The minimum qualification is now mandatory, and also that the mayoral candidates for the metros and the secondary cities shall be handled by the national officials. This is to ensure that they select people who bring expertise and the requisite qualifications to occupy those positions.
United Kingdom Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will announce sweeping reforms to the UK's asylum policy when she addresses MPs today. The changes will include fast-tracking the deportation of illegal migrants and overhaul of human rights laws and plans to end multiple appeals against removal. Mahmood also threatens to stop granting visas to people from 3 African countries, namely Angola, Namibia and the DRC, if their governments do not improve cooperation on removals of illegal migrants. The UK wants the governments to increase cooperation with the UK's attempts to deport their nationals. In a statement, it says visa bans would be imposed unless they accept the return of their criminals and illegal immigrants, saying the threat of penalties is because of unacceptably low cooperation and obstructive returns processes. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has secured an important deal to obtain air defense hardware from France. He signed the agreement to acquire up to 100 Rafale jet fighters, missile and drone systems with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron at an airbase near Paris. The two men also inspected the fledgling headquarters of a planned multinational force that may one day oversee a Ukraine-Russia ceasefire. The BBC's Hugh Schofield has the story.
The headquarters is kind of only just beginning to be set up, but it is there. There is a physical place where military people from France, from Britain and elsewhere are beginning to talk about what would happen if there were a ceasefire and if this putative force had to go in. It needs to be ready, and so that's what's happening there.
Recapping the top story this hour, South Africa's International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola says the country will not again allow any flights carrying undocumented Palestinians seeking to enter to apply for refugee status. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jonani Tulo Wepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Time to stay informed, inspired, and connected to the ideas driving Africa forward. The Upside on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
We're 8 minutes into the grand finale of The Upside on this Monday, the 17th of November. Thank you for staying with us if you've been here since the previous hour, or actually still since we started at 1 p.m. Here we are at 8 minutes past 3 p.m. in Central African time, coming through in conversation with an entrepreneur, and a noted Global Entrepreneurship Week that is happening this week, where we are basically just looking at themes around entrepreneurship, innovation, what is happening, especially on the African continent. South Africa's youth unemployment rate stands at 62.6. No, I have to say that again because that is shocking. 62.2%. That is a very big figure, and obviously puts us in a position where we're in a national crisis that needs urgent and meaningful opportunities to be created for young people in business. And one such young person is Tatiso Dube, who started a fashion business, a small business that is clearly putting him on the map and also creating employment for himself and for others. He's going to be joining me in studio so that we can talk about this brand that he has started, this big name brand that literally started as it was a schoolyard project for t-shirts, and it has grown into more than just a simple idea, into a streetwear brand that now spans 15 stores and employs more than 200 young people across the country of South Africa. Isn't that a story? What a success story. We're going to be speaking to Tatiso live in studio in a few minutes.
Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The world is watching Johannesburg. Leaders from the planet's biggest economies gather to make decisions that shape nations, markets, and futures. You already know Channel Africa will be right there, bringing you the conversations, insights, and analysis that matter.
The best is yet to come.
The G20 Summit from the 22nd to the 23rd of November. As it happens, from an African perspective, stay tuned to Channel Africa and get all the G20 analysis. Channel Africa, your voice, your sound, and your home. Stay logged right here.
Join us, look at my baby. Body gon' make you go crazy. Spawn on, spawn on. Bad thing, I need it. The way you shake it, baby, done with it. Spawn on, spawn on.
Yeah, pull up in the photo. I'm lover. I took her to the stolo. She want the Louis V's, I'm on La Pondo. Yeah, pull up in the photo. I'm lover. I took her to the stolo. She want the Louis V's, I'm on La Pondo.
You already know the vibes. It's a lot of clickbait, salt and spice. Diamonds in the face, I shine, you shine. Made a lot of mistakes, gave me time. When I lost faith, you would say it's fine. They cannot touch what God designed. Go ahead, crush, so proud you mine. This is real love, it's right or die. Touch me, squeeze me, make me believe in myself is fly. When I was at my weakest, you sparked this fire. God sent you to give me juice and ice. Perfect combination, suit and tie. Angel, halo, see you in my dreams in porcelain white. Main thing you taught me was don't reply. You already gave them an extra life.
Join us, look at my baby. Body gon' make you go crazy. Spawn on, spawn on. Bad thing, I need it. The way you shake it, baby, done with it. Spawn on, spawn on. Spawn on.
Now with me, now my spawn on. Scotland impilo yensokolo. Ngifuna ukuhamba nawe mina masibono. Scotland impilo yensokolo. private locations, blow my soul too. Go to Shisi jet, flight 42, passport, go look in tattoo. When I city private locations, blow my soul too. Go to Shisi jet, flight 42, passport, tattoo, tune shit.
Too nice, look at my baby. Body gon' make you go crazy. Spawn on, bad thing, I need it. The way you shake it, baby, done with it. Spawn on, spawn on.
Wake up with gratitude, hope, and the African spirit. Channel Africa, now easier to access than ever before. WhatsApp us on +27 63 406 9126.
It's 3:15 in Central African time. Welcome to Channel Africa. If you just tuned in, wonderful music coming through from AKA, and Java was featured in there as well. Sponono. Thank you for being here. The final hour looking at spaces of creativity and the creative economy just growing in ways that were unimaginable a couple of years ago. But here we are celebrating one of our own live in studio. So, of course, with the mention of the fact that we are in Entrepreneurship Week globally. So Global Entrepreneurship Week starts today, the 17th of November, and ends on the 23rd. And it's a space to really explore what entrepreneurship looks like on a global scale, what innovations are being made, and also celebrating the story of the African entrepreneur, or at least when we look at proximity here on the continent. But South Africa's youth unemployment rate stands at 62.2%. I mentioned this earlier because it's such a staggering figure. That is more than half of young people that are unemployed in our country, which puts us in a position where we are in a national crisis, and we need urgent and meaningful spaces that create opportunities for young people to develop and to grow and to reproduce themselves economically. So few stories come to mind, like the one of Tatiso Dube, who joins me in studio. He began something several years ago where he decided, listen, let's do a schoolyard t-shirt project of sorts. And now it has grown into an entire brand known as Galax Boy, a streetwear brand that now spans 15 stores and employs more than 200 young people across South Africa. His work has earned him recognition as Medium Business Enterprise of the Year and Job Creator of the Year at the 37 Annual Business Partnership Limited Entrepreneurship, or rather Entrepreneur of the Year Awards. Okay, and his story offers a very powerful look at what ideas can do. The power of ideas, and also the power of being persistent in being able to meet whatever opportunity you're looking to unlock. So let's welcome Tatiso Dube of Girl X Boy. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us on Channel Africa. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you. It's really awesome to actually meet the face behind the brand, because I've known the brand for such a long time and didn't know the gentleman behind it. But let's talk about the journey. It started as a T-shirt idea in high school, and now it has grown into an entire brand. Talk to us about that journey and how the idea came to you.
Yeah, basically it started in 2008. I was in Matric. So I just made a T-shirt for a group of my friends to wear during casual day. We wore those T-shirts, and then the rest of the school wanted them. So I decided to start selling them, So,
right.
But I didn't see it as a business then. I just saw it as just making pocket money, But as the brand grew, I realized, no, here we have something, you know what I mean? But at that time, due to lack of information, I never thought a black person can own a brand. I only thought it was Nike or Adidas, etc. So I think later that year I discovered Mmatsheko Mosito, which was, then I discovered that it was owned by a black guy. So I said, then that's when the passion grew more. I said, okay, I can do it too. So that's when I started doing my research, taking it seriously. Yeah, then fast forward 2012, I officially registered the brand, did trademarks, etc. Started selling from the boot.
Wowza.
Yeah, and the rest is history, So
yeah,
it's been a long time.
You sound very organized. I mean, registering, trademarks, all the good stuff that you need to sort of get a proper business off of the ground.
Sure.
But it sounds to me like you don't come from a family of business people or entrepreneurs.
No, my dad is an accountant, my mom is a bookkeeper. No one, actually, my whole family, from uncles to no one is in business. I'm basically the first person to go that route, So
yeah, first generation businessman.
Yeah,
I love it for you.
No one could advise me on anything.
Yes.
So I had to learn everything the hard way.
You learned as you move through, which is beautiful and shows your tenacity.
Yeah.
But wasn't there, someone in the community, I don't know, just people that you were able to kind of draw inspiration from in terms of how they do things? Because what you were able to do in 2008 as a boy in high school was quite novel.
Yeah.
It would have been very easy for you to just say, no guys, this is just for me and my friends, and leave it at that and pursue a career that your parents are going to approve of or be proud of.
Yeah.
So what examples watered the seed for you?
I mean, like I said, when I discovered Mmatsheko Mosito,
okay,
I became close with the owner.
Yes.
Then he hired me as a designer for his brand for a year. So he offered me a salary of 6,000 per month. So I declined it. I said, just teach me how you do it, the ropes and everything. So for that whole year, I was going from Mamelodi to Rosebank in a taxi, going to learn about this industry. So as soon as I was done at Mmatsheko Mosito, end of 2012, that's when I registered my stuff and hit the road running,
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Tatiso Dube, the brains behind Girl X Boy, is joining us in studio, and we're talking about building a brand from the ground up, which is what he's been able to do.
Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you'll be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Tebucho and Mmatsheko from the upside.
23 minutes into 3 p.m. in Central African time. Spending some time with the founder of Galaxy Boy, Tatiso Dube, in studio. We're talking about how this literally started as an idea. I mean, how incredible is that? And now we're talking about 15 stores that are open nationwide, employing an entire cohort of young people that are coming into the space and really learning and also just contributing economically to the country, as it were. Tati, so let's talk about the issue of unemployment in our country. I mentioned over half of young people are unemployed. Companies like yours are coming into kind of, help wherever you can, getting people economically involved, as it were, and also learning some new skills. Yeah. How intentional were you about opening your first store and getting some young people to work there?
Yeah, I mean, the brand is for young people. So the way I imagined it was, if you walk into the store, you have to meet another young person, choosing a T-shirt for you, etc. You wouldn't trust an old person choosing a T-shirt for you because they basically don't know anything about streetwear. So for me, hiring young people is better. They are better salesmen. People can trust their taste, etc. So that was the only way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then scaling. I mean, that's not very easy. I mean, from one store to 15.
Yeah.
Dude, how did you do that?
Scaling wise, I have a very great team. Obviously in the beginning I used to do everything myself. So basically when you scale, you delegate the things you don't like doing to people who like doing it.
Right.
You understand? So things like customer service, you delegate to someone who likes talking to people, can explain properly, etc. So things like finance, HR, etc. So as I was scaling up, I was working with people to take over those things I don't like doing, So that's how we ended up here today with a good team that can operate the business without me, and stuff like that.
How do you manage that? Because, a lot of entrepreneurs that start small businesses complain about things like, people's theft, people stealing from them, or not having the skill, because delegation on its own is a skill.
Yeah.
Not being really good at delegating, then you end up doing things yourself, and then you're fatigued, or you hire people and they're not very trustworthy. So navigating those types of challenges as a business person.
So in certain departments you have to hire professionals. There's no other way. You can't hire your friends in all departments. Because things might not go. There won't be accountability, etc. So just hire professionals, and also to curb something like theft, you need to create systems in your company that when someone does this, he has to do this first, so that there's a way to figure out what's happening at all times, So it's all about systems, doing your research. We do a lot of research. Obviously, it's the first time we do these type of things, so we have to research a lot, ask a lot of questions. Like I said, hire professionals who have the knowledge of how to run retail stores or retail companies, So yeah.
I want to tap into your mind a little bit in terms of because success markers are determined by a lot of things. I mean, you mentioned the research from a business perspective, hiring people that are professionals and paying them what they are worth.
Yes.
That's really what grows and solidifies the business.
Yeah.
But in terms of just how you think about business, because sometimes we start them to solve a problem. I mean, yours sounds like it was something that really was just about getting young people excited about the fashion space and streetwear and, the novelty of that at the time.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, starting a business when you're really desperate to make money versus, listen, I'm just a creative guy.
Yeah.
Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it started as all about fashion. Then, because we opened our first store in 2014, then in 2017, that store closed down. Reason behind that was we knew how to sell the clothes, make them, market it, but the business side of things we were lacking,
Right.
So the store closed down. 2017, then we went underground for about 3 years. Then 2020 during COVID, that's when we decided to come back with an online store, like from scratch. You know what I mean? So during those 3 years that we were not doing anything, I think was refining the brand. You know, looking at our mistakes. You know, I did a couple of business management courses during that time, just to fix our issues. Then by 2020, we decided to go back into the market with the online store. I think I saved up about 90,000 rand, because during that time I used to design for other people.
Okay.
So all that money I saved up, got some T-shirts, opened an online store, then got back to it. You know, so you have to be consistent and have faith in whatever you're doing. You know, otherwise it won't work. You know, so yeah, that's how we got here today.
Sure, and the professionalism. I mean, I'm on the website right now, galaxboy.co.za, and today, so I'm looking at the tracksuits, and the website looks absolutely amazing. I mean, I literally, it's taking me 2 seconds to get into what I'm looking for. You know, I just typed Galaxboy on Google, it took me straight to the website, apparel. You know, but there's all kinds of things that you can find. Black Friday specials, new promotions, the price is there. So everything is transparent. There's a cart. Throw whatever you need into the cart. The levels of professionalism
that's the
is
team's
amazing.
work, you know.
Yes.
As any business person, you have to invest in people for you to grow. You know what I mean? So all the money you have to invest in your people. Obviously your product as well, but the people are the ones who are going to take you further, you know. So if you're trying to do everything yourself, nothing will move forward. So you have to invest in people, pay them what they're worth, you know, treat them right, and they'll deliver. Yeah.
There's Tommy Hilfiger, and then there's Tadiso Dube. Here we are talking Galaxboy and the success story of the brand, as it were. It's 3:30. Figilile Ngwati standing by with sports. I'd like us to come back and really talk about the actual brand, talk about the clothing, talk about the design. We're going to do that in a short moment. Thank you, Figile.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
My pleasure, Mmatsheko. Let me start off with Taekwondo. Kenya Taekwondo Federation, KTF, is gearing up to welcome the world to East Africa for the inaugural World Under-21 Taekwondo Championships, slated for the 3rd to the 6th of December 2025 at the Kasarani Gymnasium in Nairobi, the country's capital city. KTF President Major Suleiman Sumba explains.
So we want to thank our government. We were well prepared. We went for the bidding and we managed to secure the bidding rights thanks to the preparation at home and the supporting nations worldwide.
Sumba speaks about what it means for Kenya to host such an international taekwondo tournament, where 71 countries from various continents have already confirmed their participation, with more nations still expected to join.
We are very grateful as a nation, as a Black African nation. This will go a long way in placing Kenya as a strategic location, and we are expecting a lot of teams worldwide to come and enjoy our hospitality, to come and display their artful skills that are needed. And this is the time when, because it is under 21, most nations will be preparing their athletes for the coming Olympics in LA.
On to rugby news. The Springboks will host England, Scotland and Wales in July 2026 as the new Nations Championship launches with a northern invasion of the Southern Hemisphere, where every match will count as teams aim to finish the season as the top test side on the planet. The groundbreaking Nations Championship, a landmark joint venture between SANZA and Six Nations Rugby to create the new biennial tournament, was officially launched on Monday, with the 12 biggest nations in world rugby colliding in a competitive new tournament that will reshape the future of the global game. The SANZA nations, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia and Argentina, plus invitational teams Japan and Fiji, will represent the Southern Hemisphere in the new competition played in the two existing international windows in July and November against the Six Nations teams, England, France, Ireland, Italy, Scotland and Wales. The finals weekend, scheduled for the 27th to the 29th of November 2026, will deliver world-class sporting entertainment to fans, with 3 days of double headers taking center stage at the Allianz Stadium in London. Football news: the Curacao could become the smallest country to compete at the World Cup. Conflict-torn Haiti may defy the odds, and another small nation, Suriname, has a chance to qualify for the first time when the CONCACAF qualifiers conclude on Tuesday. But there are 4 other countries, Costa Rica, Honduras, Jamaica and Panama, also in the running for the 3 automatic berths reserved at the expanded 48-nation 2026 finals for teams from Central and North American and Caribbean Confederation. Each of the 3 group winners advances to the tournament in Canada, Mexico and the US next June, while the 2 best-ranked runners-up will go into the Inter-Confederation playoffs in March, where 2 more World Cup places will be decided. Let's wrap it up with golf news. Adam Schenk battles through blustery conditions in Sunday's final round to capture the Bermuda Championship for his first USPGA Tour title. With winds gusting up to 40 kilometers per hour, the 33-year-old American fired a level par 71 to finish 72 holes on 12 under 272 at Port Royal in Southampton in Bermuda. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Figile Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. The Midnight Snack, 12 to 3 a.m.
Muranziwa wa mina. Muranziwa means my love in Xitsonga. So if you're listening to this, just know that you are my love. Yes. You and I are an item. We are dating. We are together. So I love you, baby. Why are you blushing? Why are you blushing? Like, haven't you heard somebody confessing their love to you? I mean, you gotta get used to it now, because I'm gonna tell you this every day, that I love you. I can tell you, there's so many people who are never told they are loved. I come to the studio every Monday, 12 to 3, because I've got an appointment with you. I take you serious. Forget about the other person, right? Moranziwa.
The Midnight Snack, every Monday, 12 to 3 a.m. with Chanduko Ligege.
15:36, Tabiso Lehoko standing by at the business desk with the latest news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Mmatsheko. Boeing says that Air Senegal will purchase 9 Boeing 737 MAX aircraft under a deal signed at the Dubai Air Show. The agreement includes the purchase of 9 aircraft and options to purchase 6 more. An official for the plane maker said during the Dubai Air Show. The signing ceremony was attended by Senegal's Minister of Infrastructure and Land and Air Transport, Yankoba Diémé, and Brad McMillan, a senior vice president of global sales and marketing at Boeing. South African rand held its ground in early trading on Monday, shrugging off S&P Global's first credit upgrade of the country since 2005, a move to BB from BB with a positive outlook as investors shifted focus to this week's looming interest rate decision. The rand traded at 17.7 against the US dollar, little changed from Friday's close. Head of Market Risk at Treasury One, Richard Silius, says the muted reaction reflects that the move was largely priced in, though the upgrade, combined with the Treasury's backing of a 3% inflation target, supports South Africa's long-term risk profile. Gambling regulatory bodies from across Africa are expected to gather at the Sun City Resort in South Africa's Northwest Province. They include bodies from Botswana, Kenya, Swaziland and Tanzania. The Gambling Regulators Africa Forum will start today and end on Friday. The growing challenge of illegal gambling will be under the spotlight. Boitumelo Qalinge is the acting chief executive officer of the Northwest Gambling Board.
The conference will be attended by various member states from different countries in the continent. Action is to be taken against illegal gambling. Illegal gambling is a big problem for the industry, as it undermines the public trust and it deprives governments of critical revenue.
In his swearing-in ceremony, South Africa's newly appointed Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Willie Oukamp, says he wants to turn the department into an economic portfolio for the people of South Africa. Oukamp was speaking after his swearing in at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. President Cyril Ramaphosa appointed Oukamp minister last week and appointed his fellow party member Amelia Abrahams, who is the new Deputy Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. The former DA spokesperson says that the department will engineer job creation.
It is not true that you can't have this portfolio being an economical portfolio. We've got forestry, we've got fisheries, we've got our national parks. All of them contribute towards the GDP of this country. And this is what we must do. We must find the balance between what the communities want and what is in the best interest of nature, and to have that sustainably done for many years. I'm looking forward to working with all stakeholders to really make a success of getting the communities and the environment together sustainably for everybody and for many years and centuries to come.
Chinese electric vehicle maker Xpeng forecast growth quarter revenue below estimates as a prolonged price war and intensifying competition in the world's largest automaker threaten to slow its growth. The company's US listed shares, which have more than doubled this year, fell nearly 3% in pre-market trading. The cautious outlook comes despite Xpeng and rival NIO posting record deliveries in October, even as Tesla's China's sales slumped to a 3-year low. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 440, Botswana 13 pula 665, Kenya 128 shilling 2, and Zambia 22 kwacha 44. The BRICS countries in Brazil, the dollar there will cost you 5 ruble 29, Russia 80 rubles 78, India 88 rupees 65, China 71.9, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 17 rand 6 cents. 75 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Gold is trading at $4,079 and platinum $1,547 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $63.89 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Thabisolo Hoko.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter? Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard? Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126, and we will call you back so you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am, you know.
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views, share your opinion, engage with the community that values your perspective. Follow us on our social media. Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Midday vibes, great programming, and good company. This is Channel Africa.
Welcome back to The Upside, and thank you so much for staying with us. We are having a conversation with one fine entrepreneur, Thabiso Dube, who is the brains behind Galaxy Boy, a streetwear brand that you can find in various parts of South Africa. 15 stores employing 200 youngsters and really solving all kinds of problems for the consumer, for the space of creating employment and economic development in the country, if you will, and so many other wonderful things. But also, I thought we could use this segment to actually really talk about the brand. We've spoken about the creative space and the business side of things, your challenges, and how you scaled from no store to 15 stores across the country. So let's talk about the brand. I'm having such a good time going through the different apparel on the website. You've got a spring summer range, there's tops, there's t-shirts, there's all kinds of things. So you are the designer behind the brand itself. Talk to me about how you think about streetwear, because I would imagine that being a very broad term right now.
Yeah, I mean, streetwear is like everyday wear, so there's certain items we even sell plain t-shirts.
Is that your own brand?
So this is currently our top selling item. I think we've sold over 90,000 of them this year.
Wow.
So streetwear is about what you see every day out there, so that's how we get inspired to design the things you see on the website. So it has to be part of your everyday situation. That way you buy the clothes every day, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So you don't want to make clothes for special days, because that way you only come at a certain time, So if it's for every day, then you could possibly be in the store every 2 weeks getting something. So that's how we view streetwear. It's about your everyday look, but obviously looking proper, and giving you quality and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about just your approach then to everyday wear, because there is a little bit of everything here.
Yeah.
I mean, from t-shirts to sweaters and hoodies, which are comfort wear, streetwear / comfort wear, and other things, shorts, beach wear, if you will, some really beautiful things. So, what are your design aspects for the brand itself?
Thing is, we service different types of people. There's people that like the more plain stuff. That people like more loud stuff, colors, prints. So we try to cater for everyone, because we also do sunglasses, handbags, shoes, accessories. So our ethos for the brand was to make a luxury streetwear brand. You understand? So we focus a lot on the quality of the product, and we make it affordable. So I know my people like looking expensive, but they don't want to pay. So that's when I saw the gap in the market, is where that people want to look like they wearing millions of rands, but by like a plan, like a budget type of situation. So that's where we saw the gap, and ever since we got into that market, it's been taking off, So that's our little secret of how we run Galexpo in terms of designs and the clothing.
Well, that's a good problem to solve.
Yeah.
Because we want to look good, y'all.
Yes.
But we don't want to break the bank while we do that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about, because I'm on the website. I'm on galexboy.co.za, where we can find all the clothing. But there's also 15 stores.
Sure.
Is the person that walks through the stores a different customer to the one that shops online? And how do you then cater for the two markets?
I mean, it's different all the time. So sometimes the customer first goes to the store, because obviously in South Africa people don't trust. Hey, let me go to the store. Yeah, let me go to the store and buy. So the first purchase they buy in store, then they have trust in the brand, and they move to online now. They can deliver these things. I've been there. I know my size, etc. So, but there's other customers who are not afraid to buy online. Because obviously in South Africa we're not there fully like an online country, because people don't trust these giving your card to a computer you don't even know, card information, etc. So with us it's basically a 50-50 situation in terms of the sales. 50% the brick and mortar stores and 50% online. So it's a pretty much a balance because of the different people in South Africa. So eventually the in-store people jump to online, and the online people come in store just to also experience the brand in a different way, So, but we try to not make it too far apart of, make it the experience the same in store and online. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay, we're going to take a break, but I need to know how you are so evenly keeled. I have interviewed a lot of business people in my career and across fraternities. And I always say there's always an anxiety, because business is tough and there's always a lot on your mind. You need to tell us your secret, sir. How are you so evenly keeled? No anxiety. You're just calm waters. I'm running a business.
Yeah.
And these are the challenges. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But we're going to also be welcoming Tami Ngubeni so she can fill us in on Africa in Business coming to you just after 4. Stay with us.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
The United States was very vocal at the beginning of South Africa's G20 presidency, and this is largely due to strained relations with South Africa at the time, that they were not really keen on participating. Where do they stand right now?
The US is planning to take over the presidency of the G20 next year, and our understanding from then is that they intend to continue to do so, and therefore it is quite difficult then to be in a situation where you are not attending deputies' meetings or discussions during our presidency and then to take over the presidency next year. From a finance track perspective, there has been engagement. We've been working on a communique last week and this week here in Zimbabwe. What's important about that is that it's a consensus document. And so all the members in the room have to agree to the language that is used there. And our US colleagues have been part of those discussions and negotiations.
Bringing the African markets into your home. Channel Africa, the African perspective. This is The Upside for the best African vibes. Groundbreaking content.
Here we are, 10 minutes to go till it's 4 p.m. and I'm falling apart. Oh my goodness, what's happening? I think it's because it's almost the end of the show, okay? But here we are, we're talking about brands that, when Tebe Ikalafeng, who is just an extraordinary gentleman when it comes to talking about brands and that sort of thing, he would make an example of brands like yours, African Pride, Made at Home. Tammy was talking about your T-shirt, about what makes it so special. It's just a white tee, but we're looking at the detail, the quality of the fabric. Immediately when you walked into the studio, that's the first thing I saw, and the stitching. Yeah. So people that are very particular like me about that sort of thing, you notice that immediately, that this is, I would spend money on that one.
You'd spend on
I'll spend extra money and delivery fees on top. So we've got Africa in Business coming to with Tami Ngubeni just after the 4 p.m. news bulletin. A big week, build up to the G20 Entrepreneurship Week. There's a lot happening.
There certainly is a lot happening, and awesome guests that you've got. I think we should have had you on our show, but hey,
C-suite, what was?
C-suite. I think we'll give him a bit of a break and then invite him onto the C-suite.
Absolutely.
So really good news for the South Africa Citrus Growers Association. You'll remember that when the tariffs first became a buzz, they were one of the ones that were very heavily affected, especially in agriculture. Well, a sigh of relief, because oranges coming from South Africa are now exempt from the tariff. So they will be able to continue competing within the United States, which was a very big market for them. And also obviously a build up to the G20. We will actually be broadcasting from the G20 throughout, and Africa in Business will be there as well. So a build up as to what to expect as the G20 goes nearer. And actually, as you drive through some of the major roads in Johannesburg, you start seeing posters of some of the presidents that
and
are coming through.
And the cleanliness of the roads.
And the cleanliness of the roads. And you'll see a big post of the hosting President Ramaphosa there. So certainly you can feel the buzz that it's just a few days away. And in our F&B slot this afternoon, we're going to be focusing on the medium-term budget policy statement that was delivered by the Finance Minister last week. on some of the ins and outs of that. And also we are expecting October's inflation data to be released on Wednesday. So we'll talk around expectations.
Okay, lots to look forward to in the next hour. Tami Ngubeni is standing by already for Africa in Business. The Monday edition is loading. But we're wrapping up our conversation with Tatiso Dube in his capacity as the founder, the director of Galax Boy, which is just an amazing streetwear brand here in South Africa. But I would imagine people can get it anyway, hey, because you've got an online store.
Yeah, online store. We are all in all 9 provinces in South Africa. We just opened our 16th store last week in Kimberley.
How? You didn't tell me this. Store number 16 in Kimberley.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, we pretty much done with South Africa now.
All right.
We're trying to move out.
Okay. All right.
We're trying to move out the country now, and see if there's appetite globally. So, yeah.
Yeah. I really love this story. I mean, this is a success of everyone, not just you, because there are a lot of people that are part of this brand and making it the success, as you noted it. I jokingly was talking about just your character,
sure,
and how calm you are, and how you think things through, which are all really admirable qualities. But a lot of young people that were like a Tatiso in the year 2008 are not as evenly killed. There's a lot going on. Okay, managing cash flow in a business is a big challenge for young people. People asking you for discounts, people taking from you, as I'd mentioned earlier, and all kinds of other things. Economic downturns in the country, people not buying as much, or the volatility of the space can really take away from the good characters of a human being, and we don't blame you. So how do you, and I ask this in all seriousness because I think it's very important to highlight matters of mental wellness in the space of business, which is really tough. How do you keep yourself grounded and understand that this month will be better than the next, and vice versa, and that you've got a whole host of people that are part of this business that you've got to take care of? That can take quite a toll on your mental health, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate that I started as soon as I could, when I was 18.
Right.
And obviously I've been immature with money before, but the best thing about starting early is that you can lose $1 million today, then you can make it tomorrow. When you're young and you can afford to make mistakes.
Yes.
But if you pass the 30s, 35, and you have responsibilities, a house to pay, kids, etc., you can't make such mistakes. So for every entrepreneur, it's best to start as soon as you can when you have no responsibilities. Make as many mistakes as you want. You'll come back, learn from them, and start building a stronger business or brand. So for me, I've seen it all. So now I've taken a stance where everything is normal, So there's billionaires in the world, there's trillionaires. So if I become a billionaire, it's gonna be normal. It's happened before. It's like the sun; it rises every day. It sets every day. So it's once you get into that mindset where this thing is normal, it's gonna happen regularly, just like the sun. It rises every day. So if you make $1 million today and you treat it as normal, it's going to happen again tomorrow. But if you make $1 million today, then you want to go and splash money and waste it, that money is not going to come back because it can see what you're not used to these things. So once you channel your mind to get used to these things, they're going to happen every day. So that's how you keep calm.
That's so powerful.
Start as soon as you can.
It really is. It's like making success a habit.
Yes.
Get used to winning.
Yes. Because
Get used to winning.
Get used to winning.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere. So obviously for black people to have 15 stores, it's not normal, but we have to make it normal. We have to get people to get used to black success.
Yes.
Because not everyone is corrupt and everything. So how people on these social media platforms. When you have too many stores, it's like, this one money laundering, this one has a blah, 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 blah. So I want people to get used to black success. So the more we get used to it, when your little brother says he wants to start a t-shirt company, you're gonna say, okay, go ahead. You can't say, are you crazy when I go to school and be a doctor? So we have to make these things normal, and the more normal it is, the more it will happen. We'll end up having 100% black companies that run the retail game. Because currently now, clothing is a 200 billion rand a year industry. But like maybe black people, we have maybe 1% of that market.
If at all. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we have to make it normal and take over at least 50% of that market must be black people.
And the funny thing is, we may be that 1-2% of ownership, yet we are the consumers.
Yes.
You know, so we're the consumers, but not necessarily the
We
owners.
don't own the
we
pie.
don't own them.
We don't own the pie. Well, this has been lovely. It's been great. Bits and pieces of a masterclass there on how to do it. You know, for a young person that could be listening. We need to put that on one of your T-shirts. Kind of, what did you say? Get used to winning. We got to project that every day. Are you going to start a T-shirt brand? Get used to winning by Galaxy Boy. I love it. Thank you so much. I guess in finality, before we let you go, in the medium to long term, you know, what is the big vision? You mentioned that, you know, you've conquered South Africa. It's time to perhaps move into other regions as well.
Sure, yeah. We already have a international website, galaxyboy.com. We've shipped about maybe 300 orders to places like Japan, UK, Dubai, etc. So we're monitoring that situation. So if maybe the UK is ordering so much, then we go into the UK and research if maybe we can do a pop-up or a store or something like that. So that's what we're busy with now. Yeah, but we trying to go into Africa now, Namibia, Botswana, and from there, the rest of the world. So yeah, also this year we've been doing pop-ups overseas at these music events. We've partnered with Afro Nation, so all the events we do a pop-up there, and we collaborate with the event, make them T-shirts people can buy. Then we introduce Galaxy Boy to their customers. So we're trying to get into the global market like ASAP, you know. So that's our plan for the coming years, basically.
You are a star in the galaxy. Oh my goodness, what a story. Thank you so much. And if you do want to check out the store, galaxyboy.co.za in South Africa or galaxyboy.com, excuse us, internationally, should you wish to make a purchase. It's 4 p.m. It was wonderful to have you on the show. We're back with the Upside 1 to 4 p.m. for the Tuesday edition. Jolani Tulungwepa standing by with the 4 p.m. news bulletin, and then Tami Gubeni with Africa in Business. See you tomorrow. Cheers.